This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Look at that. That is a lovely newborn baby of the wildebeest. After enjoying the impala lambs, now we've got the blue wildebeest starting to give birth. Look at the umbilical cord is still very much long, showing that this baby is still very new. This head of wildebeest, I saw it yesterday late afternoon, and they did not have a baby. A very good morning and welcome to the beginning of the morning safari. My name is Sydney Pumulani Mikosi, and I'm traveling with Senzo, who is my camera operator this morning. For in case if you need our attention, you can follow us on Twitter, #SafariLive. That is where you can send your questions and comments. Let's go back to this little beautiful wildebeest. Apologies for the aerial is the positioning as this wildebeest, the two latest wildebeest started moving towards this side. Look at that. So I'm just going to try and free wheel here. Michelle, this is adorable indeed. Look at that. Another one is right in the middle there. That one is nice and clear now. So it's just two of them so far. So the wildebeest, when one of them is about to give birth, they congregate, and you will see they try to protect the mother who's giving birth to avoid the hyenas and other predators who can cause problem to the little ones. Look at that. This is amazing. Look at they both have the umbilical cords. You can see these babies were born somewhere last night. Look at that. And they're trying to have something to drink now. You can see the stick there still hanging. Also the other one, the stick is still hanging. Jeremiah, let's hope the leopard is not here. Otherwise, these little ones are going to experience a problem. So these little ones are so gifted because they can be able to stand and walk in 6 minutes after birth. So they are going to remain with the mother for about 8 months. And it's then that they are going to start joining the nursery herds. Look at that. Look at this. They've got some hairs here on top of the eyes. It looks more like the whiskers. Look at that. So they look completely different from their mothers. So from the color, look at that pale. So they're all trying to have something to drink now. So wildebeest doesn't have good eyesight. That's why they have to team up and protect the mother in the middle when she's giving birth. And they are preferring this open area because here they can be able to watch out for the predators. A lot of the wildebeest died because of a certain kind of sickness which affect them from their nasal passages. Here is where a botfly, one of the insects, lays their eggs, and after that you will see the wildebeest turning, get exhausted, falls over and dies. The sickness is called a tanning disease. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara, where David has just found some lions.
A very good morning from the Mara Triangle, and thank you very much, Sydney, for having gotten what these lions would love to eat for breakfast. And this is the Olololo Pride of Lion. Coming to you live from the Masai Mara Triangle in Kenya. My name is David, and hiding behind the camera is James Kamoe Muredi. Good morning, sir.
Fine, thank you.
Very good. And James is very happy because he has not seen the Olololos for quite some time. And remember, what we do is a very interactive safari. Should you have any questions, please ask, send them through. We are happy when you talk to us using #SafariLive on Twitter or on the YouTube chat. Now James is taking us back to the lions, and it's a cool morning, and he wants my head out of his shot because he thinks they got a very big head, which I had it out. James has a bigger head than mine. A cool morning, 17 degrees Celsius, 63 degrees Fahrenheit, which to me feels a little warmer. I heard the Sydney saying it's much hotter or it's much warmer in South Africa than it is here. Trying to think maybe we got different elevations, and the Mara Triangle is much higher than Juma is. And this is one youngster and a female, as much as both of them are youngsters. The one to the left is much pale. He's a young male, and a little older female. That forms the 14 or 16 strong, I would say 16 Olala Pride. Right now, it's just a perfect picture. Maybe we could make postcards for them, but Christmas is not very far. We could start making Christmas cards. And there's one lioness that's going to join them in a few seconds. And there she goes. If you look at that one carefully, it's a fully grown female, and grooming and social bonding for lions, it's very important. And those are just quick hellos for the morning. And whatever they say, but it's all bonding, not actually biting each other. I would wonder whether they'll ask each other how your night was. The bigger female there is just trying to have a wee in the morning. What a great day. The wind is very still. As you can see, even the grass blades there are not moving. In the background there is the Ololo escarpment. And not very far from that very tall hill you see, that's where me and James live. James, do you agree? James says yes. And what's that, James? Well, James is asking me how I sleep, but last night there were so many hyenas last night, and it was quite noisy. The hyenas were making calls, and that one female lioness is fading away, going towards our camp. Hopefully she doesn't get home. My plans today are to go to the Sausage Republic, and I'll be moving now in the next 1 second. But in the meantime, we'll take you to my other friend who is also out here saying good morning to you.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Mara Triangle, as David has probably already welcomed you to. We don't have lions with us at the moment, but, well, they were waiting for David at the bottom of the hill. We drove past him and have ventured into the marsh this morning, and we are looking for black rhino, and we will also pay a visit to the family of bat-eared foxes and see exactly what it is they're up to. So, good morning. My name is Steve. I'm joined on camera this morning by Manu. And while we are out in the Mara Triangle having a wonderful morning with a 17 degrees Celsius, 62 degrees Fahrenheit, it is a marvellous morning. And send through your questions, comments, hashtag SafariLive, or drop them in the YouTube chat stream. Remember the all-important FC. Keep your questions relevant. And let's have 3 special interests, shall we? Send through 3 animals or conversations you'd like to discuss this morning and see if we can cover them in the marsh this morning. It's a beautiful morning. We love to stop and show you these scenes. They are, well, quite picturesque for ourselves as well. I know someone last night was saying thank you for stopping for the sunrise and sets. Well, we rather enjoy them ourselves, don't we, Manu? I mean, what's not to enjoy about those clouds? And last night I said the sunrises and sets are beautiful because of the cloud and because of some trees. Justin, indeed, it's still about 20 minutes or so until the sun rises, but the colours that come through every day are unique and different, and every tree you position up against, a tree in picture there is one of the shepherd's trees, and they make a beautiful, beautiful picture. And a lot of other trees in the distance, torchwoods and the like. If it was just an open landscape with no trees or hills or anything, and clouds, it'd be very bland, the sky. But we have got elephants in the distance, as always. They love frequenting the marsh. It is loaded with nutritious grasses and trees, the water table being not too far down, providing evergreen plants throughout this area. And in the heavy rains, this area turns into a swamp. But throughout most of the year, it is very nutrient-rich grazing, attracting all sorts of animals. It's why we have got so many lion prides creating their territories around this area. It's not because of the view, it's because of the abundance of game that this area attracts. Excuse me, as we will attempt to show you this morning. So very exciting that there is already a wildebeest calf down in Djuma. They don't normally come until December. So okay, and talking about wildebeest calves, we're going to go flying all the way back down about 2,000 miles to Djuma with a new addition to the herd.
So you can see that I'm still here with the two newest baby calves of the wildebeest, and I can promise you these are the first two calves of the wildebeest I've seen so far. I haven't seen any other small ones apart from these two. And my apologies, we are not very far away from the lodge here around the Garago. Don't get surprised when seeing the fence on the background. Look at that. You can see these babies are still very new. So the impalas are not the only ones now having the little ones. Wildebeest are joining. So I was lucky 2 weeks ago to find the impalas, and now Minamu, the umbilical cord, if you can check at this stage, is already looking dry. But the chances, yes, of attracting the predators are there, because predators can be able to smell. They can smell these umbilical cords from a very long distance. So that's why some of the animals, when having babies, they eat also droppings of the little ones, because the smell of the droppings from the little ones and the adults is not the same. So the droppings for the small ones, they can be able to detect milk in it. So I was saying 2 weeks ago we were lucky with an impala, the first impala in the reserve. Today we are lucky again with the first two wildebeest calves in the reserve. So now I am going to ask that you send us on hashtag SafariLive Twitter, if you can send us a quick word about your feelings about this sighting. So this is amazing. So that is my word. So you can see that the little ones, they are getting tired very quickly. So they are not used to yet. As I indicated, I was with this herd of wildebeest by the waterhole yesterday, and there were no babies. So it's surprising that now they've got babies. So the weather is very warm at the moment. The rain was predicted for today. Maybe we are still at the beginning of the day. During the day we might start receiving some rain. But here, when looking at the skies, I'm seeing quite a lot of open areas. It's not convincing that it is going to rain, but predictions say so. So the wildebeest, they prefer to feed on short grass. So they work together with impalas for safety and also for the preference when it comes to the diet. Zebras can see well, they cannot see well. Zebras prefer long grass. They are behind the zebras looking for the short grass. And I think here where they are is much more ideal for the safety of their babies, because it's much more open. So now I am going to leave these little ones and see if we can check. Nature Girl, the blue wildebeest, the babies, you will see them as well on nursery herds together. It's a group consisted of mostly the babies of more or less the same age. So that is their nursery groups. So you will see also they form the crash. These animals, they form nursery group, some they form some crash. So now we are just going to check here around the Viotrella pen just to see if the predator is not here, because I can see they are heading much more towards the pen, and it is here where Hosanna is depending when it comes to the water. This is the nearest water source from where Hosanna is hiding food. So we haven't seen him yesterday afternoon, but I'm sure he's still in the area. So it's not easy to see him here, especially if they are a Paula one-word tweet is saying this is adorable. I strongly agree with that. Linda is saying this is heartwarming. Indeed, this is heartwarming. It's something very special. So Donald is saying blessed. We are indeed very, very blessed this morning. It's nice to see the animals starting to give birth even before rains. Before good rains, they are giving birth. So let's hope they don't get predated. So there's no sign of a predator here where I am at the moment. I will be going much more towards the central part of the reserve and check. I'm heading towards the Buffalo cut line, Cheetah cut line, those areas. I want to see if we can see something. So now let's quickly go back to David in the Masai Mara.
Very good, Sydney, and I got some stripes here which won't cross the road, and I am not sure where is the origin or the genesis of a crossing zebra. And these are the bachells or the common zebras of the Mara Triangle. They seem not to be very happy with each other, and those two, you can tell either they have some disagreement or some discord among themselves. They were eating a few seconds ago and they just stopped and seem to be going for each other. Could be youngsters, could be young males, and could be the time the stallion wants them out of the herd. That happens many times. And every time I see them munching the grass like this, they remind me of the horses of a friend of mine near my village where I grew up as a small boy. Most of the wildebeest, or most of the zebras that have always gone together with these animals have gone down south to Tanzania. We've got a few that are left, and that's the zebra crossing I was talking about earlier. So the lions will still have something. The olololos that we just saw a few minutes ago, we still have a lot to be feeding on. I hope you heard that. That was a stallion. And the stallions could be very vocal, and stallions are the males with very large teeth, which they'll use once in a while to fight. If you look on the manes of these zebras, you can see how upright or straight they are. and that is always one of the indicators of healthy or zebras that are in good shape. And as much as most of them do not have a breeding season, here in the Mara Triangle, I guess most of them are pregnant at the moment, just like the wildebeest are as they're heading down Serengeti. Nazi, I agree with you, they're classy and always, I mean, for that size of an animal, they're the best looking animals in terms of their stripes. And every time I try to digest how they are designed has always been very difficult. And I'm sure, Nazi, you know, each print or each zebra is always very different from the other. We got two types of zebras here in Kenya. This one that sometimes you say is closer to the donkeys or is similar to the donkeys, and then you have another one that's slightly bit bigger in size, that the abdomen or the bellies do not have the stripes that we call the gravy zebras, that are much or closer or similar to the horses, and both of them have the manes. The other one have much thinner stripes than these ones here. And look at that mane, quite upright. You might think it's like a mohawk and they came from a salon and some good bird eye job was done on them. See how much grass they're able to pull from the ground. And when, you know, weather patterns are really tough and gets dry here, zebras will be the last one to suffer. They're very easy to adapt depending on the availability of food. Like some animals like the wildebeest or the tommies, which always will depend on the short, fresh grass. When it's very dry, we have seen them going down because they cannot survive. Great stripes they got, and all the patterns you'd think of. Like you see on the forehead, there are the stripes going down, on the cheeks, going a bit zigzag. Very good camera work, James. They'll tend to eat a lot. Unlike, you know, the ruminants, zebras are non-ruminants, so they'll want to eat as much as they can, even during the day. Kema is very interesting. The zebras tend to remain clean, or you'd like to know how they keep themselves clean. Interestingly, there are times you don't see them looking as good when you see them rolling, you know, on the ground when they want to get out of mud or soil on their bodies to suffocate any insects or parasites on their bodies. But the coats they have, they tend always to remain clean. Look at where they are now. They're just in an open area with grass and not too much dust. They always tend to remain with such good looking coats. Once in a while we get some rains, which of course will wash any dirt on their bodies. But the striking white and black on the zebras is always very colorful. Not a single wildebeest, but all zebras you see in here, James. Unless you picked something like that. You see the pattern of that one is a bit dodgy at one point on the thigh there. But sometimes all these are genetical reasons. Kaylin, good question. I am not sure I have that answer in my head. I'll be finding out for you how much it should eat in a day, but I would say, just a wild guess, it could be anything 20 to 30 kilograms of food, 40, 65 pounds, but that's just a wild guess. I'll be finding out for you how much they would eat in a day. But they tend to keep eating basically almost the whole day. Very good. Zebras keep eating, and I think someone is enjoying the sunrise in the same area I am in the Mara Triangle.
We are indeed during the sunrise, but probably not as much as those people on the balloon who are thoroughly enjoying their way through the park at the moment. Balloons have just taken off and they are coasting a mere 30-40 meters from the ground over the African wilderness. And well, isn't that a picture? A bit of a cloud bank building up at the back there is keeping the sun from emerging in its full capacity at the moment. But those wonderful people are enjoying the balloon. Who knows what animals they'll see, and in an hour or so, they'll be enjoying a wonderful champagne breakfast. Justin, you want us to find you a secretary bird? That I think David might have more luck doing where he's headed. Zebra, of course, there are zebra around. And you would like us to discuss who the current marshmallow king or queen is. Well, that is a very interesting topic of debate, because we were just driving down the road here a moment ago, and Manu was telling me this is the road that Taylor was on, that she jumped over the muddy track to get to Jamie and landed on her face. And even she laughs at that video because it was ridiculously funny. And who is the current marshmallow king or queen at the moment? Emma is telling me in my ear it is Sydney. Well, has he been stuck in the mud? I wonder. I haven't been stuck in the mud yet. I've got a few more days yet to do so before heading back down south. I remember. Sydney got stuck at a Tundi situation. Well, we've all done that. I remember he also got a flat tire with Tundi and he couldn't change it because he had a leopard in his periphery. Is that the same sighting you're talking about, Emma, where he had a flat tire with Tundi, or is he talking about a separate incident where he actually got stuck in a hole? Jared's buddy, well, I'd love to be able to show you some baby ostriches. I haven't seen any in the Mara. There's lots of adults. Where I was yesterday morning, there were plenty of adults roaming around, but not a single youngster. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on with the breeding of the ostriches in the Mara. Have you seen babies up here, Manu? Manu's been here, hasn't seen any babies either. Just eggs, and I found an egg the other day which was permeating foulness from inside. And, well, it definitely wasn't going to hatch as a baby ostrich, that's for sure. But I don't know what it is. I think the predation of ostriches out here is very, very high. Okay, well, we're going to continue on. Manu's just going to grab the sun that's about to crest. Actually, I'll wait there for you for a moment. Anna-Marie, well, you would like lions, which David has just shown you, and he's on his way to find some more. You would like some cheetah as well. Well, Anna-Marie, I spent yesterday morning searching hard for cheetah, and I spoke with a few of the Ngama guides, and they said they can't find any in the Mara Triangle at the moment. They've even had to cross the river to go and get some cheetah. So I don't know where the cheetah are. They're in very low sort of abundance at the moment, and who knows where they've moved off to. But bat-eared foxes, Anna-Marie, I am on my way to their den site. So hopefully we'll be able to get them for you, because Manu didn't see them either the other day. We showed him a hole in the ground, which was very exciting. But I'm sure we will find at least one individual there. Gorgeous mornings in the Mara. MGN, I was singing that song before you came to us about Here Comes the Sun. I'm not going to sing it for you now because, well, it's too early for that. And there it comes. Gorgeous. Beautiful day lies ahead of us. Another day. November almost over. Can you believe it? 28th of November today. For some of you, it is still the 27th. Where has the year gone? Can you believe it? Karen, it is very cool. It is very, very cool, and it's about to get rather hot. The heat is definitely going to catch up with us. And on that note, we're going to start our engines and slowly move on down the hill and see what it is that we can find. Thanks, Manu. Okay, well, we're going to continue on down the hill, see if I can get some of those special interests done this morning, and then while we do that, let's go all the way back down to Juma. Sydney, who's left his cute little wildebeest, is on the search for some leopards.
So we are now going to the Buffalo's Hook cut line from Mvubu Road, from the Galago shortcut, to see if we cannot be lucky with the lions around the borders, and see if we cannot be lucky by the cheetah cut line with Tandy's tracks there. Maybe this morning might be our lucky morning for Tandy. So I'm going to hit 2 birds with 1 stone in that area. So I did pick up some audio on lions earlier, but it was sounding very far. This is only hyena tracks I'm seeing now. Oh, here come the elephants. So I am hoping so too. We might be lucky with the lions this morning. Look, I've got the elephants already here with me. Look at that. So these elephants are so very much stationary feeding here. So this is the first one coming to cross here. The rest, they are still behind. So elephants, they're always busy all the time. So the time to relax for them is only a few hours. In 24 hours, they can only relax for about 2 to 4 hours. So they spend almost 18 hours feeding. Mike, these elephants are so lovely. Look at that. So peaceful, not worried about anything at all. You can see it's warm already. Look at what that elephant is doing. So this is about cooling the body, and it's also about to try and chase the insects. Oh, look at the baby. There's a baby playing. Look at that. So that baby is too small. This is cute. So the baby elephants, they are born while the mother is standing. The little one has to hit the ground as a wake-up call in order to kickstart their lives. Oh, there's another one here. There's another baby just here. Let me show you. This is beautiful. Right here. Oh, look at that baby there. Look at that. So that baby is too small. So there's 2 babies, and these 2 babies, they are more or less the same age. So I saw this head yesterday afternoon, and I can see it's the same head, because when I'm looking at this baby and that one, I can still recognize this is the latest, the one we are seeing now. Is a little bit smaller than the one we saw earlier. Look at the baby, it's trying to use the trunk. It's trying to grab the grass, but doesn't know how to do it. So this little, look at that. Dixon, I didn't copy your question nicely. The elephant has got eyelashes which helps them to protect the dust from coming in. But sometimes they do get the dust. That's why some of these elephants, you'll see them with the sand eye or the bogart. The bogart shows you that the eyes are dirty, and sometimes you can see them even secreting some white from the eyes, which can also be caused by some of the infections. So this dust does also sometimes cause problems. You can see the little one is so willing to use the trunk and is going back to the grasses and try to grab the grasses, but just doesn't look as even battling to break the grass. Doesn't know how to. Look at that. So the little one got to learn how to use. Look, the little one is trying to. The little one is trying by all means. Is trying to eat as well. Look at that. This is a nice shot. Thank you, Senzo. So this little one got to learn how to use that trunk. Look at that. This is incredible. Look at that baby crossing there. You can see they are feeding right here. So I think this is one of those amazing sightings where I have got to share with the other viewers from other social networks. A very, very good morning and welcome to the special broadcast. I have got this very big elephant with a very tiny baby here by the western side of the Greater Kruger National Park service. And look at that. Now the little one is trying to show off some abilities of strength. He's trying to run alongside the mom and is looking at us all the time. This baby is so funny because he's trying by all means to imitate the mother all the time. When the mother is feeding using the trunk, the little one is trying to also use the trunk. Let's see what the little one is trying to do now. This is so interesting. This little one is going to be under the guidance of the mother for about 3 to 4 years. Safari Dragon, this is amazing. This is something else. It's very much difficult to find ourselves sometimes this close to such a very big and dangerous animal when having the small ones. So I'm just going to pull forward a little bit so that we can again carry on enjoying this interesting sighting. This is not the only little one we've got. Now I'm going to show you another little one which is here as well. She's also showing some interesting activities, and this one is suckling at the moment. Look at that. So this little one is drinking. Aaron, this is adorable. Look, I've got another one drinking now, and is more or less the same age as the one we just saw earlier when we started with this very special broadcast. Look at that. So these little ones are so funny, and all they want is to play. You can send your question and comments. We are live here where we are with these animals at the moment. Safari Dragon, these babies we have shown you now, they are all very new, and you can see they still have got quite a lot of hairs. They are less than a month old, and it's something which is restricting the movement of this big head. I saw these little ones yesterday as well, afternoon, and they are just roaming around here, and depending on water holes such as the Viotella pen and the Galago pen, which are the water holes not very far away from where we are. Let's see now. Look at that baby. Look at that. It is indeed amazing how quick they learn to walk. After few minutes after birth, they are going to do that. This is beautiful. Oh, the little one nearly fell there. You can see that it's not well experienced. Jason, the mothers can be so very protective when these little ones are still very new. But if they identify that they don't have challenges with the vehicles, they don't consider us any threat. But if the vehicles are giving these elephants problems, is then that we are going to start having a problem, because every time they see the vehicles, they will retaliate. But at this stage, there is that a very good relationship between us and them. Elephants are very much clever. Once they learn that the vehicles are giving them problems, they will always chase them. They are just eating milk at the moment. They are not yet ready in order to eat solids. But as time goes on, when they're growing, they will start to eat the vegetation. But they like to imitate too much what the parents are doing. So you will see them sometimes trying to take some of the grasses and some of the green trees, but they don't really eat. Elephants, when they're still very young, these babies. So these elephants, when they're still young, they don't have the digestive bacteria in the stomach. They must have to eat droppings of their mothers in order to gain the digestive bacteria. It is a behavior called it is a behavior which is called a caprophagic behavior. So they are born free of the bacteria. Look at that. The little one is trying to go in between those bushes there so that he or she can also exercise how to use the trunk. Margaret is very much difficult at this stage for me to tell. So you can see this little one is not stable at all. So as time goes on, we will be able to identify this little one from a distance and see if it is whether a boy or a girl. Sally, this is so interesting indeed. Two small ones at the same head, and thank you very, very much for all your questions and comments. It has been very lovely having you as part of our guest this morning. So you can see now that the elephants are still busy feeding, and we are going to leave them now and go to the cut line, because the lions, they are much more active by this time of the day. If we are late, it's going to get very warm and it might be difficult for us to find them. So before their tracks got disappeared on the road, I must have to check the cut line. So that was a lovely sighting. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara, where Steve is by the marsh area at the moment.
Welcome back. Look at what we found. We found one adult sitting outside of the den, looking a little bit dewy and misty. Obviously accumulated a little bit of moisture on that fur coat through the night. And obviously the fur coat designed to keep them nice and warm in the cool climates. Down in the Kalahari, which is sort of the northwestern side of South Africa and into Botswana and Namibia, gets very cold. It gets to below freezing at times. And, well, if you don't have a big shaggy coat, you're going to freeze. It doesn't get as cold up here. But we're hoping that the bat-eared fox family will emerge for us this morning. It's one of the special interests, and the purpose for asking for special interests, folks, is due to the fact that MDR indeed, we got the bat-eared cuteness. But the reason I asked for special interest is when you go through guide training or you spend any time in the early stages of being a guide, you finally realize that actually being a guide is about the guests and not about yourself. So you need to cater your game drives and your safaris around what your guests would like to see. And once you can ascertain what it is that they want to see, you can start sort of showing them how what they want to see links into the ecosystem, links into the environment, and how it's connected to all the other little things that you want to show them. Obviously, a lot of people go, oh, I want to see lion, I want to see leopard, all of those things. And then once you can start showing them those things, you need to start guiding them and educating them about how those animals actually fit into the ecosystem. And here we have the jackal, looks like a youngster begging, the one on the right. The ears flat, there's a couple of them. There's time for play in the morning. How do the black-backed jackals interact with the bat-eared foxes? Well, there's lots of play in the morning. They're obviously a little bit colder. Well, a little bit cold, and now it's time for play. The adult on the left, no doubt, has been out with a lot of foraging and probably got a belly full of food. You can see the puppies are the ones on the right that are chasing with ears flat in a begging sort of manner. And the adults have probably already regurgitated for them, and there's nothing more to give. There we go. There we go. Ah, he just got some. Please give me some food. Typical dogs, aren't they? Typical dogs. And so how do they fit into the ecosystem? Jackals. Here we go. Going to regurgitate. Jackals, bat-eared foxes. They live in holes in the ground created by aardvark. Without the hole in the ground, these animals would not have breeding sites. And while it is the termites themselves that create the mounds and burrows that enable the aardvark to dig in, which then enable an enormous number of species to live in the ground. Living in the ground is obviously first prize because if you're an ostrich and you're not able to perch in a tree, and your nest is on the ground, it's unprotected, you have to be very vigilant. You've got a much less chance of rearing youngsters, especially when you've got the likes of jackal and lion moving through that would prey not only on the eggs, but on your youngsters and on the adults. And it's mainly the adults would be from lion and cheetah. So you see how we weave in those special interests into the discussion. Beard, it is so cool to see. Every morning, well, every time I come here and I see the bat-eared fox den, they're not always that active, but there's always some activity from the jackal in the background, who are omnivorous for the most part, will feed on all sorts of things throughout the season. Kimberley, they most certainly are neighbours. The den sites are very nearby. I'm not sure exactly where the den site of these jackals is at the moment, but last I saw it was sort of more to the right where we were now. They've moved in front of us now, but as with most animals that live in dens, they do move from time to time as parasite loads get bigger and the smells get increased, or there might be some rainfall and lead to the flooding of a den and cause them to move. I love Snacks. What a lovely name. Are you glad your mom didn't feed you like that? Well, if that's the only means of being fed that you know, well, it would be perfectly normal to do so, wouldn't it? Mom goes out for the evening, fills her belly, then comes back and vomits it into your mouth. Isn't that a marvelous way to go? Definitely not for everybody, but it is the way of the animal kingdom, and if you don't accept food that way, you don't get strong, you don't get fit, and you don't survive. But marvelous to see the black-backed jackals doing their thing. We're hoping that these bat-eared foxes will come out shortly. Praga Mama, I'm not 100% sure about that statement. You're saying, is it true that the male jackal takes up most of the care? As far as I'm aware, it's pretty much a 50-50 split. In saying that, though, you'll often have helpers that will stay around and spend time with the group to assist in the rearing of the youngsters. but I'm not sure. I'm going to have to double check that for you. But as far as I'm aware, jackals provide sort of across the board 2 parents, and then have some helpers that will assist in the upbringing and rearing of the youngsters. But you never know, you might be 100% correct. I know that in the bat-eared foxes, it's the female who generally stays back so as to provide the nourishment for the youngsters in the form of milk. But in jackal, we often see them as a pair providing, and both of them will come back. It's very hard to identify male and female, a male and female jackal, as when they come back, when they're moving through their territory, they'll often move as a pair, and one will defecate, the other one will defecate on the same spot, same as urine spraying. Similar to my dad's dog on the beach. Every piece of kelp it could see, it would deposit something on top of. Snazzy, I'm not 100% sure how long it takes to make a den, and there's plenty of dens available, plenty of old den sites that have been used and unused and disused that they'll just come back to. They might just scratch out something that's already there, an aardvark hole, maybe a brand new aardvark hole. Jackal, bat-eared foxes have both got the necessary digging equipment on their claws so as to dig in and make it a little bit more suitable for themselves. And den sites can be used year after year, but they will move between a few selective ones depending, and as I said before, on parasite loads, the smells that start to accumulate, and obviously the availability of food. Bat-eared foxes select den sites in the area of food abundance. No doubt a jackal will do something similar, but jackal being territorial will do it within their territorial boundaries. Okay, so what a beautiful morning it is. A beautiful morning in the Mara, and we're going to see if we can get another view of these bat-eared foxes coming out, because, well, they are just bundles of cuteness when they come out, absolute bundles. There is the adult standing vigil on the outside. Quite often when we get here in the morning, 1 or 2 are on the outside, and then as the heat starts to increase, well, they just disappear back down below. Lee, I'm not 100% sure why the bat-eared foxes have got that band on the face. It might have to do with, similar to what cheetah have, with markings on their face when they snarl, when they pull a face of aggression. It changes the sort of the shape of the face. It adds a little bit of sort of what's the word, war paint, as you were, to the face. It makes the face look a little bit more sort of aggressive, a little bit more scary. But I'm not 100% sure. I'm thinking that's possibly why the bat-eared foxes have got that marking on the face, but I'm not sure at all. I haven't been able to find anything about it. If anyone out there knows why bat-eared foxes have got that marking, there must be a reason, because it's one of the family traits, or the species traits, but not 100% sure. Billie Jean, you want to know what the most overlooked animal is? Well, I think a lot of people see, well, if we're talking about South Africa, a lot of people see so many impala, and they just think, oh, another impala, oh, another impala. But impala are very, very special animals. There are so many things to talk about impala. There's so many evolutionary adaptations that they've gone through to make them as successful as they are. So most people just, whatever. It is one of those animals you're going to be guaranteed to see on safari down in South Africa, but there are so many interesting things that can be discussed about them. Up here in the Mara, there are so many things, I suppose, that people just drive past. We've parked at this den site on many occasions, and many game viewers have come past, and the guide has not even bothered to show the guests these cute little bundles sitting on the floor. And many occasions they've actually been sitting there, visible, and people haven't even stopped. So I think a lot of the small nocturnal animals that hide and secret themselves by day are very overlooked. and when you do find them, they disappear very quickly. Last night we had a porcupine. We love to see porcupines, but they're not easily seen. They just scurry around. And we also had a serval, a very special animal to see. I don't think they're overlooked, but from a camouflage point of view, they're very easily missed, but special nonetheless. But these animals are parked right next to the road, and I wonder how many people coming out of this camp just around the corner actually know that they're here. I've never seen a car parked having a look, but marvelous. There are plenty of animals on display every morning in the Mara. It is a wonderful area for game viewing. Always elephants, always buffalo. So I suppose some people might get a little bit over certain species, but I think having those animals constantly on display just adds to the specialness of them. Okay, well, it sounds like David has got his passport stamped and he's crossed the border into the Sausage Tree Republic.
Well done, Steve Ovo, with all those youngsters there. And I finally got to the Sausage Republic, and the last sighting of one of the males, not a member of the Sausage Coalition, but scored, or it comes from the Old Donyo Pike Coalition, was seen not very far from this tree. But I'm just looking on the beauty of that tree with the morning light and the Olorola escarpment in the background, and I thought I'd just pause here for a couple of seconds before continuing with my mission of looking for the sausages. Now, the sausage pride, they're called sausage pride because they love, or they like to climb trees that are very similar to this, that are called the sausage trees. Not very different as much as they are much smaller than this, and this one here is a fig tree. Fig trees are very iconic, just like the sausage trees in the Mara Triangle, very solid, and they tend to remain like green all around the year. But you know, francolins there, tapping and making a lot of noise. Of course, they keep flying away. And those zebras in the background have been looking in a particular direction for quite some time, and I want to go and investigate that area they are in, if there's something they do not like that I could be looking for. One of the sausages was very much due to pop-up cabs. Nobody have any news about her, and to me I would think by now she should be having some new bundles to increase the number of the sausage pride. Beautiful light in the morning. Well done, James. Beautiful savannah with its scattered trees here and there. Your small forests. It's a huge lodge back in the background there on that hill. The sausage tree, that's what the sausage pride was named after. And many times you have seen them climbing it to look for some shelter. When it's very hot, they'll get some shade from it. Or when you get the grass having so much flies and they get irritated, they climb that high and the flies will not be able to reach them. I don't remember the last time I saw them climb a sausage tree, but they got very smooth branches and very solid, which is always very comfortable with them. So we're going to move forward now and see if we can get close to a particular area or lager that I'm expecting maybe to spot the sausages. You have seen leopards on top of such a tree like this fig tree here. Nazi, great comment that the land is beautiful, and Nazi, James will show you another couple of seconds of some wonderful landscape here. Nazi, stay right there because we are giving you a different angle of the same beautiful land. All right, what do you say, James? Okay, we need to back up a little bit. James Pigier. Proud cat mama, I would say the most common tree in the Mara could be the tree that we call Mogamia, and the second one I would say, let me say the first one would be the magic Ngware tree. The magic Ngware tree, proud cat mama, are the most dominant trees in the Mara. And that's like inside the Mara Triangle, but when you go out of the Mara Triangle, you'll see also lots of thorn trees that we used to call acacias. Now, as proud cat mama, just look at that, and you'll get so many single magic Ngware trees on their own, and on the edge of that escarpment is where you are most likely to see the thorn trees, what again is the city we used to call the acacia trees. So very gorgeous. Fantastic. I'm going to stick around the Sausage Republic for quite some time to look for my sausages, and I think Sydney is also looking for similar cuts.
I haven't found any tracks yet for these lions, and now I am entering the Torchwood in order to see if we might be lucky with Tandy or Talamba this morning. So I'll be heading to the Torchwood Dam just to see if these animals are not drinking there. Yesterday afternoon I left Talamba in this area, and I even saw some buffaloes yesterday. So we might be lucky again and see. Maybe the lions are attracted by this buffalo in this area. Who knows? So now let's quickly go back to the Masai Mara and see what Steve is having at the moment.
Well, we managed to get them on the right side of the road now, so we got really good view. So to get back to the question I was asked earlier about, does the dad do most of the work? And well, essentially the mother will spend 90% of her time with them in the first 3 weeks, and then both adults will assist in the rearing of the youngsters, bringing food back, food provisioning. So at no stage anywhere that I've read does the male do more work than the female. He assists, and any helpers that hang on will assist as well. But it's essentially the female who initiates the moving of dens. If one youngster decides not to follow the adult female, the male will stay with him or it until the female comes back. But she seems to be in charge when it comes to the youngsters. But both of them will bring food back to the den, regurgitating from their full bellies. And we'll a little bit of, there we go. Oh, that's it. A little bit of vomit again in the mouth. Isn't that marvelous? A little bit of grooming happening. Some nice social behavior in the open with these young jackals. So there's 3 adults, 2 being no doubt the breeding pair and 1 being a helper from last year. Very common in jackal society to have a helper sticking around. Just give them another year to figure out exactly how to stay in how to stay in jackal society. Mary Lou, you want to know what the average litter size is? Well, anywhere from between 2 and 6 can be born, but with regards to bat-eared foxes, generally there's a huge difference in size of the youngsters, and they reckon that could be due to the fact that they can survive in conditions of low food abundance. If some are bigger and some are smaller, the bigger ones will probably do better than the smaller ones. But when food is more abundant, and then all of them will survive. But jackals are the same, anywhere from between 2 and 6, but 3, pretty much 2 for bat-eared foxes being the average, and 3 in jackals being the average. Here we seem to have 2. Obviously, there's lots of factors that play a part in that, to do with competition, predation, food availability. All plays a part. Carol, bat-eared foxes are nocturnal in the summer months here in sort of the Mara, and down in the Kalahari they'll be primarily nocturnal when conditions are quite warm. But down in the Kalahari, they are more diurnal due to the fact that their primary food source is the harvester termite, and nocturnal. In winter months, it is freezing at night, and so the insects are all underground, not coming out until the daytime. So the bat-head fox also stays underground in the winter months then, and in the summer they are completely diurnal due to temperatures and food availability. But up here, well, they go through bouts of different things. The temperatures are not crazy in the Mara, so they go and they follow food as it is available, whereas jackal are pretty much across the board active whenever they need to be. Very busy animals, probably more crepuscular than diurnal, active at dusk and dawn, but they will very readily be active in the middle of the day if there's food available in the form of a kill, and at night the same. Will go in to compete and try and steal scraps from lion and hyena. But for now, these youngsters, seemingly the two on the right, are enjoying a little bit of the sunshine. Oh no, that's the one, that one who stood up as an adult. There were two on the ground, or you can see the behavior. It's all about behavior. You see how a roll on the back and submissive behavior. Ears go flat. A very dog-like behavior, isn't it? And very cute. You've got to learn how to behave like a jackal if you want to live in the world of jackals. And after 6 months or so, the youngsters who aren't able to really hunt very well, still provisioned by the adults, follow them around, start learning the boundaries and the territorial sort of distance. Tuti, jackals are dogs. Jackals are indeed dogs. Across the world, jackal, wolf, wild dog, bat-eared fox, all the foxes, they're all in the sort of dog family, all very, very similarly related. Just the changes in habitat and leading to food availability and the climate of those habitats have led to the differences in the dog species we have around the world. They're probably even more closely related than to many of the species of, or the many of variations of dog, domestic dog, that we have out in the world. And well, very different from cats. Dogs and cats have evolved very differently. Their social structures, the way that they're classified, they're all very similar to each other. 4 toes on each foot with non-protractile claws for digging. Generally use den sites for rearing. Quite often have either a dominant alpha pair or a monogamous pair. Rosemary, I'm pretty sure, without knowing too much about coyotes, I'm pretty sure there are enormous similarities between them. The only differences really come about where these animals have evolved, in what landscape and what environment they've evolved with, what predators they have on the landscape with them, and what food sources available. The bat-eared fox are differentiating from the jackal in their huge diet of insects rather than meat. Jackal would be across the board, from insects to fruit to meat as well, in the form of rodents and also scavenging. The bat-eared fox will feed on rodents, but primarily insects being their food source. So it allows these species to overlap. Wolves obviously would overlap with other small dogs in the Americas due to the fact that they feed on a larger prey source, and being in a pack, they're able to hunt larger prey. Where coyotes, without me knowing too much about them, are probably more closely related to jackal, feeding on the smaller prey, being a scavenger, feeding on rodents, digging, and actively pursuing small invertebrates and vertebrates. And that one has got itself a bone. Very good. Got myself a chew toy. Zach, most animals that we have out in the environment have black and white vision. So I wouldn't necessarily say they're colorblind. They just don't. Colorblind means you have a problem seeing green and red, if I'm not mistaken. Most animals, lions, leopards, all the herbivores we have out here, all the dogs that I know of, they see nocturnally. So by being able to see at night, their eyes are made up of different cells called rod cells, which allow them to see black and white very well at night, but eliminates a bit of depth in the vision. We have cone cells, which allow us to see color and thus depth. Most primates do, probably birds do as well. Color allows you to see depth, allows you to have perception of color. And obviously you can tell that by the way that a lot of animals engage with color. If you need to eat ripe fruit, it's ideal to be able to see what color it is. If you're a baboon and your mate has got a red and swollen bottom, well, seeing red allows you to know that they are ripe and ready for mating. But dogs, cats, like to see at night, so their eyes are designed very differently. They still see very, very well, but they don't really see the depth that we see. They see movement very well. But obviously with jackal, as with all dogs, sense of smell is very acute, sense of hearing, and it's time for some play. It's so wonderful to be able to spend time with jackals like this. They're always busy doing something. Some important lessons there to be learnt. You see how they use their back hips to knock each other down. That's such a dog trait, isn't it? Biting, submissive behavior, chase me, catch me if you can. And very quick. Important lessons to be learnt. Taz, it is indeed hunting practice. Hunting practice and also courtship, I suppose, because the youngsters will have to meet a lady at some stage, and well, or a man, and you need to be able to play, you need to be able to show fitness, and running next to and tackling and diving and all of these games are elements of proving fitness and agility, ability out there, which is important. If you form a monogamous bond with someone, you need to know that they're going to pull their weight. Otherwise, well, you're going to be working overtime to support the other individual. So in dog society, it's very important that they're able to be strong and fit and compete. And, well, this is the environment for the jackal, and they are probably the most adaptable of the canids in Africa, occurring in quite a large proportion of the whole of the savanna. A lot of the grassland ecosystems we have down in South Africa, they just don't occur in the forests. So very, very adaptable. And, well, we are here with them. Wonderful to spend time in the open, but I think it's time we move on and see what else we can find with regards to the special interests of the morning. How does that sound? Sounds good. David Gitu, who is down south as before in the Sausage Tree Republic, is following up, it seems, on a lion.
I'm doing anything I can, and I'm not sure I have seen some baby lions or some baby jackals. Let me find out what I've seen here. Something was just on a termite mound and it just took off. I initially thought it was a lion and I can't see it anymore. Let me see what was here. The little jackals here, like maybe what Steve have. Let me just back up a little bit. There. Oh, is it a savocat, James? Let's just try. Just trying to put your camera in that hole there. I can see a savocat there. It's a savocat. It's very clear. All coming out. She just moved in the other direction. Let me just back up a little bit, James. Just 1 minute, James. Plus, what will happen, the animals here have always seen us as very big cars, and they will not even be bothered. And they will not be bothered with us. And so long as we don't invade their space, it's always fine. The challenge comes in when we get so close to them. And that savocat definitely can tell we're here. That's the back of it. They always tend to be very active in the morning. And the final control says that's pretty awesome. Quite a rare setting for us. When we see savocats, I get more excited personally than when I see lions or leopards, because they've been very difficult to see for quite some time. Steve have been seeing them a lot, and you can see how they disappear in the grass. They blend in so very well, and you'd be looking for some food. They feed on rodents, sometimes on small birds. Hello there. Insects, reptiles like lizards or skinks. How cute is that? Way back in my village a long time. Daniel, thank you very much. You're saying that's a good catch. As much as I had lions before, I think this Daniel is more exciting than the lions. And in my village a long time ago, I used to call the savos baby cheetahs. And every time my grandfather would correct me and say, no, that's not a baby cheetah, but it's a different species of animal. As much as I doubt he knew to call them savos. One striking thing I have always loved the savos for, it is the stripe. The spots are like half cheetah, the normal cheetah we have here, or half the king cheetah. Look at that. If you look on the neck, it have like some continuous spots or continuous lines, which is very unusual because cheetahs normally have like spots, but this has both spots and some short lines. How they walk stiffly in the grass. They could be laying down there maybe to lay some ambush of either a frog or rodent walking across there. This is very good. Yes, all of you, I'm happy you're enjoying this. Look at that kind of walking style, like he's talking something. We have been very lucky the last couple of days. We've been spotting savo cats every other day. Of all the small cats we got in East Africa, the savo cat, I would guess they have the longest legs, which always help them when they have to leap in the air. Look at the movement of the tail. Are you happy? In general, are you looking at your tail? It's a lot of communication they do when they move, flick the tails like that. Daniel, I agree with you, very high shoulder blades. And as I say, Daniel, of the cats of this size, this one has the longest legs because they need to leap in the air. Sometimes, Daniel, you'll see them catching birds in flight and then bringing them down. James wants me to back up a little bit. Let it back up a little bit. Tell me when to stop, James. Keep coming. That's good. Are you happy there? Keep coming, James.
Yes.
Trying to reposition here, and as a reposition, I'll take you back to Stivovo.
We've got piglets. Yes, we do. We've got a family of piglets. A few adults there. And these smallest little pigs. It almost fit into your hand. It's so incredible how tiny they are. Look at that. It is a very cute morning drive. It's always a cute morning drive. You could put that in a teacup, indeed, Emma. Definitely could go into a teacup. Look at the size of it. It's just, it looks almost like it could not walk, doesn't it? Enjoying the grass on the edges of this little thicket. And like the bat-eared foxes and the jackals, warthogs require burrows for breeding. Without such, they would not breed, and they also spend the night in them so as to avoid the attentions of nocturnal predators such as leopard and lion. The serval, though, I reckon would have a good go at one of these little youngsters. And very small. eating very, very quickly. Child universe, I reckon a serval would if it got the opportunity, but they do have different sort of habitats. The warthog being more of sort of a shorter grassland sort of area, the serval spending a bit more time in the longer grass habitats. Although we do have adult warthogs moving through. Can you hear the elephants talking to us there? They wanted to add something to that. Although we do have the large warthogs in the area that we've had the serval, so it is possible there'll be youngsters out there. But yeah, a little youngster like that is pretty much food for any predator, be it aerial, be it on the ground. Dory, it's a baby boom indeed. And elephants with their babies disappearing into the thickets there, and back to the warthog family that is enjoying grazing. And you can see there's at least 3 youngsters on the left the same size, and then or 4. They're all different sort of sizes. It's quite interesting. That one on the right looks to be the runt of the litter for sure. Staying very close to mum. Feeding, getting in all their energy, like in this very short grass area. Deja vu, yes indeed. We have a look. If this piglet looks at us there, can you see how they've got that beard stripe on the side of the face? They're born almost with that hair there, and essentially what it is when they look at a predator sees these tusks on the side of the face, but they're not actually there. What the warthog's done is they've actually got sort of an intimidation streak on the side of the face, which is fake tusks, which to a predator gives the predator that moment of hesitation, thinking, oh, that thing has the potential to sever my tummy or to hurt me quite badly, like mum at the background there has got some tusks. A predator will look at a young warthog and have a moment of hesitation before and giving that warthog the opportunity to escape. So that is essentially what that beard stripe is all about. I can't think of any other reason why it is there. Maybe it just looks cool as well. Sideburns. Very 1980s. So it's much quicker to grow some fur on the side of the face than to physically grow your dentition, grow your teeth. So while they are waiting for those tusks to grow out and to create that formidable weapon, them little mohawks, well, until that stage, that little bit of hair on the side of the face serves the purpose. Because from a distance it's very hard for you to really notice whether it is tusks or not, and it does give the youngsters that moment of respite. Oh, I don't want any more milk. I don't want any more grass. I want some milk now, says the youngster. Mum's not being very accommodating. Karen, I actually have no idea. I've actually got no idea. By the size of them, they look really small, and they're already walking around. So I'm gonna have to look up somewhere and find out how much a warthog piglet weighs at birth. I'm sure I'll be able to find it somewhere, but offhand I have absolutely no idea. But they look really, really small, don't they? Do you have any idea, Manu?
I guess almost half a kilogram.
Manu reckons half a kilogram. I don't know. They look a bit smaller than that, but we'll find out. We'll let you know. Karen, I think, the piglets can be anywhere from sort of 6 up to about 10 or so. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have a little look-see though and make sure that I can, get this right for you. Because it's important to, average litters. So that's obviously, I'm completely wrong in what I'm saying there. The average litter is between 2 and 3, but range 1 and 8. So I thought 9 was a number I'd heard before, but 8 is the largest I've seen warthogs with a number running behind them, almost 8 or so, but the average being between 2 and 3, but anywhere from 1 to 8 in times of good years. But there's no sort of information on the weight that they weigh, but they are really, really small, with interestingly a gestation period of 160 to 170 days. That's quite a lot if you think about it. A leopard only has 90 odd days, 91 days to 100 days. Lion is 110 days. So warthog, the babies seem much smaller than a lion cub, don't they? But they're able to move around a little bit more than a lion and leopard cub. They're completely isolated. And well, it's not only the warthogs that are coming out into the open to feed on the short grass. We've got some guinea fowl that have moved through to do some scratching. I'll have to find out for you how much a warthog piglet weighs, but very, very small. I couldn't tell you offhand. I'm sure the information is somewhere out there. Beautiful helmeted guinea fowl. Like these open areas as well. Feeding on some very small grass seeds at the moment. Also feed on grass vegetation, new shoots. I'll feed on some insects if they become available. It is beautiful framing, Manu, well done. Any of the little tufts that come off of the grass there, they'll feed on. Guinea fowl make you smile, Carol, that's awesome. There's something about them that is quite funny, isn't it? They look like old women wearing a jacket, wearing a blanket, always tucked up, walking around with a shawl on them. Oh, I just heard a lizard buzzard calling. I haven't seen a lizard buzzard up here before, but I just heard one. Most certainly occurring then. But the guinea fowl form a very important prey source as well. They are regarded as a buffer food for many of the predators during sort of the dry season, when a lot of other prey might do quite badly. Guinea fowl always seem to do well, always seem to scratch a living out of the environment, and they form a very nice buffer prey food species for leopard, cheetah. No doubt serval and caracal will enjoy guinea fowl as well, and a martial eagle, lots of birds of prey. Guinea fowl also move through the landscape, scratching as they go, feeding on seeds, distributing seeds along as they go with their dung, or their droppings, and also scratching, causing disturbance on the ground, which leads to obviously succession, allowing certain seeds to then grow in areas that they wouldn't have before. Maybe the ground was a little bit hard, so they serve a very important purpose. Bushveld chickens. Oh, Ophelia, piglets, they make a squealing sound. Warthogs make a little bit of a sound, a little bit of a pig sound. But the only time I've really ever heard warthogs making a noise is, well, sadly, when a leopard has caught them or a lion. And it's not the nicest of sounds, to be honest. It is a very, very distressing sound that really cuts through to the bone. And that is obviously the sound created to try and attract other predators to come and obviously alleviate the predator that is trying to kill them. Often does work. The sound of a warthog screaming will attract other predators, and well, the purpose of that is to give them a moment of escape, just like their tusks give them a moment of hesitation. That squeal that they make, which is really distressing, can attract other predators into the sighting, which will hopefully let them go. But these guys enjoying being out here feeding. The guinea fowl, no doubt, enjoying hanging out with with the warthogs. Giraffe girl, they're just on their knees, really. They're down on their knees, or essentially it is their wrists. It's just a way that they've evolved of feeding. The warthog obviously needs to have its legs as long as they are to enable it to run as quickly as they do. By shortening their legs to be able to get lower to the ground would be a disadvantage to them. They haven't evolved the way an elephant has to develop this enormously long nose so as to feed on vegetation. So they just duck down on their knees, feed quite low down. The legs maintain the same length so as to give them the stride and the speed for evading predation and walking, of course. It's just one of those evolutionary sort of hacks, isn't it? Either you develop a very long face to feed on the ground, or you go down on your knees. Which one happens sooner? Well, by looking at the pig's face, their face is getting longer. Maybe in a few thousand years we'll have warthogs that walk around on their feet, feeding as they go. Wouldn't that be a funny looking animal? A bit of a scratch. The guinea fowl in the same sighting. That's quite a nice view. Okay, well, as this warthog goes down on her knees, the guinea fowl moving out of frame, David Gitu has managed to frame up some very large antelope.
Still in and around the Sausage Republic, but no sign of them. But at least I was very happy and excited to see a savocat and this eland just posing and looking at me. And I'm not sure I look familiar or neither the eland looks familiar to me. But when we talk of migration of the wildebeest and the zebras, the elands also will tag along. The biggest population is always the wildebeest, being about 1.something million, maybe 800,000 zebras, and almost 400,000 of these huge antelopes, and the largest antelopes we got in East Africa. Yes, and things in the final control, it might have seen me before, and whatever might have happened between us, all was good. That's a huge male, and the males, as they get older, they become a bit greyish in color. In the village I come from, we could tell elands, maybe, and says maybe it likes my jacket. My jacket is pretty special, and many animals and many viewers, when they see my jacket, they get very excited. And in my village, when we were small and we would walk as boys in the bushes there, in the darkness, we could tell an eland 100%, because as they walk, they got like a click sound on their knees, and you hear something like, no. Especially when they would run like that. See the huge dewlap that swings from left to right. Way back, we used to hear dewlaps could make very, very good soup. A lot has changed now, and we like taking the soups in our cameras and our binoculars with our eyes. Carol, when you look at what they have below the neck, it's all, I would say, a mass of skin, but it's very solid. But it has been claimed it's very soft. If people, or like people used to eat it long time ago, they used to say it's very soft. I don't know how true that is. I didn't have a chance to eat it myself, but this is a very soft mass of tissue there. So we've got zebras there, wildebeest, and the eland. And what I would say have been very closely used by man is the eland, because people have been known to source milk from elands. Not sure about the wildebeest. These are the white bearded wildebeest. We still got loads of them now, and after the short trains started, which apparently again have stopped the last 2 days, many of them made a U-turn and they came back to the Mara Triangle. And you can tell they still have a lot to eat, because the migration is dictated by one thing, and food. And if they have the supplies, if they have the resources they need to eat, why do they have to go? I mean, that's the way you could argue it. But I would imagine by now, come towards the end of November, all of them should have left this area. Again, we have a few migrants, or a few pockets of them that never go, and they remain around, both the zebras and the wildebeest. That's what the cats will depend on until they wait for the big herds of these animal or cow-looking animals to come back. In the background, you can hear some stallions, maybe having an issue with each other. Well, I need to get hold of my prize today, which were the sausages, and as they do that, I'm sure Sydney is also trying to look for something.
I am right now following the fresh tracks of Tandy and Talamba here around the Torchwood. They are heading much more towards the Cheetah Cut line, which is the border between us and Torchwood. So maybe the tracks are going to come out here at any time. So the possibilities of Tandy and Talamba coming back to Juma, they are very much high. Mrs. Lapwings, first we found the tracks for Kalamba going down to the waterhole, and then we saw the tracks of Tandy going down to the waterhole, and coming back from the waterholes, they were following each other, and they splitted again and following each other. Now here I'm checking if Kalamba is left behind, or they are both together to this side, or Tandy only went back to the Juma side. They will be very great. I hope we are going to see them this morning. So the chances of us seeing them, they are very much high at the moment. The tracks are convincing. They are very, very much pretty fresh tracks. So I'm just left with one block to check here, just to confirm as these tracks went in here, and I cannot see the tracks coming out towards Juma, so I'm gonna have to go back and check this block here. So there's also quite a lot of buffaloes in the area. We saw different groups here. It's just that there was no signal where we saw the buffaloes. Karen, I haven't seen Tandy for a while now. We might be lucky this morning and see them. I will be able to assess the injury. Maybe she's getting better now. You can see there's some Steenbokkies here. It's two, a male and a female. So the other one got disappeared by the other side, yeah. So I'm just trying to also listen to what is happening in the surroundings. So the Steenbokkies can also attract the leopards. So I must have to look carefully here where we are. So Steenbokkies are always together because they are partners for life. It's one of those monogamous species. MGN Talamba has been missing the mom for quite a long time. She has been independent for quite a long time now. I think she needs to play a bit with the mom. So now let's cross over back to David by the Masai Mara.
Still looking for lions in the Sausage Republic. I haven't seen them. I'm seeing different animals, but still quite as good. When you see elephants on such a cool morning, you'd say it's a good day. And you can see the expanse of the savannah. It's going to be two females, and the one walking behind to me, she looks pregnant to me. Very majestic when they walk. See the wrinkled body skins, which helps to increase the surface area to keep them cool. And you notice they're not flapping their ears as much as they should in the mornings, or rather during the day when it's warm and hot. The temperatures, I think, are still quite favorable. I don't think there's anything good they can see as they move. Not much. They are grasping from the ground. Yes, maybe they'll get something green to pick. Always spoiled with choices elephant. Being mixed feeders, they'll both graze and browse at the same time. Paula, how are you today? And always a pleasure to hear your name. And yes, they are very huge, especially the cow on the left. And if you look at her mammary glands, to me, they're very swollen. And my guess is should be doing 18, 19 months now, carrying the calf, and maybe come to another 4 months or 5, should be having a baby. Look at that. All right, big elephants. Steve got a feathered friend.
Beautiful birds in the Mara, the national bird of Kenya and Botswana. Sitting low down on the ground on the smallest possible shrub it could find. Insect eater, non-migratory, the lilac-breasted roller. For those of you who have never seen it before, it is probably one of the most colourful birds you'll ever come across. Easily identified. That purplish lilac-breasted chest, the white eyebrow stripe, the green head, and two tail streamers. Lauren, I think this is many people's favourite birds, but yes, very good. It is the most photographed bird in the Kruger National Park because of those colours. Isn't that great? And like all of the other animals we've been talking about, the warthogs and the jackal and the bat-eared foxes, they require some form of home for their nesting. And in the case of the lilac-breasted roller, they require a cavity in a tree. So they are linked to the savannah. They require trees for breeding, and essentially the elephants that we've spotted, and the elephants David is with now, are responsible for damaging trees and leading to insects moving in the form of horned borer beetles. Not horn borer, wood boring beetles. And the beetles will move in, woodpeckers will move in, as well as barbets, creating cavities, a plethora of animal species, and eventually a home created for a roller. So many species connected to create the habitat for a lot of other animals. Ismail, it reminds you of a peacock. Oh, that's interesting. Interesting indeed. Peacocks have got funny faces. And that really long, how many tail feathers that they have. I forget. Thousands of eyes, it seems, on the back. But being an insect eater, they have enough food throughout the year in the open marsh, and they hunt the way that this one's hunting, perched on a branch, waiting for something to move, and then they often plop down onto the ground to catch it. Taz, no, I have no idea the difference between male and female rollers. As far as I'm aware, they are exactly the same. There might be a slight difference in size, but there's no sexual dimorphism in the roller family that I know of. But very, very pretty nonetheless. You see the beak, definitely an insect-eating beak. Quite strong and firm. Beautiful streaks under the chin and on the head. And as pretty as this bird may seem, they actually sound like a bunch of chimpanzees when they call. Very funny sound. I will play it for you if you like. Calcics, no. Peacocks occur in Africa, but I think they come from India. We do have them. My grandfather used to have them on a farm I grew up on, and they used to slide down the corrugated iron roof in the morning with their toenails. It was horrendous. They make a lot of noise. Peahens make a lot of noise, but not naturally occurring in South Africa or in Africa. I think they're indigenous to India. Okay, I'm going to play you this lovely call, and let's see how he responds to it. Are you ready? Have a listen. How interesting is that for a call? Very strange, isn't it? Nothing pretty about their call. In nature, you can't be pretty and have a beautiful voice in the bird kingdom. I can't think of a bird that is very pretty and has a beautiful voice. A lot of the robins are quite pretty. They have nice singing voices, but generally it doesn't really work to be pretty and to sound well, to sound nice. Especially for males that attract mates. You either sing beautifully or you look beautifully. Well, Steph, obviously, who's sitting in FC, is challenging me, saying, what about a canary? Well, Steph, do canaries sing well? I mean, do they really have a beautiful voice? And, well, if they do, are they very pretty? Nowhere near as pretty as this bird. I haven't seen a canary that's as pretty as a roller. Canaries are all pretty much yellow, and there's lots of different canary species we have in South Africa, although we are not in South Africa right now. And they're not all the prettiest of birds. They're quite nondescript, to be honest. There we go. He's going to flop down on an insect, and we have just witnessed a kill, ladies and gentlemen. Kimberly, most certainly rollers will be predators or preyed upon by small raptors in the form of, here we go, the Bateleur eagle that's just decided to fly right over. Can you get him? The juvenile Bateleur. So any sort of aerial predator in the form of many of the goshawks and sparrowhawks and falcons catch birds on the wing. And so they are very, very good predators for many of the bird species that we have around. But rollers are quite sort of aggressive. Anything comes towards them in their territory, in their area, they're quite good flyers. So invariably they do chase them away. But then being a hole nester, that is when a majority of their probably fatalities or mortalities can occur. Monitor lizards, snakes, anything that might raid a nest. Gymnogenes, African harrier hawk, another name, raiding the nests in the tree. So there are many of those sort of predators, and sparrowhawks and goshawks, shikra for example, most certainly could potentially be a predator to a roller. But the roller is quite a sort of aggressive flyer, and they do very well in the sky. So they stand out quite well with those colours, but I've actually seen a European roller once hanging off of a tree. I wondered what was going on, and when we came a bit closer we found a rock python hanging from the tree with a European roller in its mouth. The python had actually landed on the branch itself. Obviously it landed on the branch and the python had been there and it snapped it up. We just seen a roller hanging from a tree. We didn't see the snake. That was very interesting to see. So obviously snakes, monitor lizards, can also catch them when they're adults if they land on a branch when there's a concealed snake nearby. Okay, well, we're still in the marsh. We're carrying around along the forest edges here. A batelier soaring in the sky, looking for something to eat. David is not looking for something to eat. He's still looking for lions.
Have not been very lucky with the sausages. So trying and wondering where they went from last night. They've not been seen for the last 2 days, but we're still hopeful they'll show up at one point. As I said earlier, we have one female that have a young, or we're expecting her to drop her young ones anytime now. And one of the best places for them to do that would be along a lager like this. If James is going to put your camera to the left there. Such a lager like this is where we would expect to see them. Colleen, you're talking about hot air balloon and filming, and once in a while we'll always get in those baskets and we fly, and I'm sure you can hear the wind, how it's blowing there. And it's always so exciting to be up there, and we usually go up with the camera operators like my friend James here, and we shoot this. Sometimes it could be end of last year, I guess, or sometimes last year we witnessed a kill. I'm not sure which camera operator that was and which presenter or guide was with him, and they saw a kill right from the air on a balloon, Colleen, and that's one of the best things. I would say the most epic thing to see from the air when you see a kill down there. It was just flying above the Mara River, and yes, that must have been very crazy. And a zebra crossed the river, and there was a lioness on the other end, and you see the balloons don't move very fast. They just tend to glide in the air. They are moved or pushed by the wind, and only once in a while you get the pilot, pumping some hot air in it just to make sure it's floating, and then they switch off the banners and it just glides. So they are able not to control the speed but slow it down, and they're able just to capture the whole of that kill until that zebra was brought down. That was pretty sweet. So some parrots flying here. I'm seeing things I'm not looking for. I'm looking for lions. I'm seeing different species of animals. Yeah, I mean, balloons are very interesting. The most interesting thing about the balloon that I think when the pilots are doing the briefing, they'll always talk of landing position, takeoff position. But for me, the landing position is the most exciting. You always sit down, you squat, and you put your back towards the basket, and you hold small your turbs like that. And as the balloon bounces, sometimes it bounces like this, upright. Sometimes it tips over, and it drags you. So what the pilots have had them telling the ballooners, if it bounces, if it tips over and starts dragging, do not come out. But I've got a friend of mine, a pilot, who tells the ballooners, if you want to scream, you can scream as much as you can, but do not come out. If you come out, I'm going to leave you there with the lions and I take off again. So Kalina, anytime you come to East Africa, come and do a hot air balloon. Well, it's terrifying, but it's always amazing. Small little bird there, James. Can you see that little guy there? It's one of the small birds. It's always on the ground. Is it a good angle for you? Is it called a long claw? Yeah. Beautiful. Good job, James. This is called the yellow-throated longclaw. Yellow-throated longclaw, and I do not know how this nomenclature of birds are done. Yeah, Ems is lovely. They'll always be on the ground, of course, feeding and catching any worms or insect in the grass there. And my concern here is, it's such a small bird to have such a long name, We've got bigger birds like, eagles, like martial eagle, and it's a big bird. This guy is small just to have such a name. Yellow-throated long claw. Sounds like a whole sentence for such a small bird. So any insect that's flying there is forming very good diet for breakfast. Sometimes they'll be known to use their claws to dig. Yes, I agree with you. That's pretty valid because look at a black kite, you know. It's a huge bird, one simple name. Lily, what bird in the Mara Triangle has the most unusual nest? And I would say it's only one, that is called the hammerkop. Hammerkop are birds that are not very big, maybe the size of, I would say, 2 hands or 2, yeah, and they make massive, huge nests. They make very big nests. So it's very unusual for me. We have seen them once in a while, baby leopards, you know, just staying in those nests. They are very huge nests. So I would say it's the hammerkop because they make such huge nests for themselves. And they'll collect all materials you think of to build a nest. Sticks, branches, sometimes human hair, blankets, computer pieces. And you wonder where they get all those pieces. And the nests are very, very solid. And the reason they have all those pieces building the nest is because hammerkops do not live very far from the people. So they'll always go in the villages or near towns maybe, grab something and just take it there. Very strong nests they make. If you're lucky to see one hammerkop today, we'll show you, or maybe Steve or Sydney. Good hammerkops, because I think I should show you that bird in my book, the one I'm talking about. Sorry, what did Lisa say? Sorry, I lost the question from Lisa. Lisa, very good. You say they make the best nest. I agree with you 100%. And they're very huge. All right, hammerkop, E-F-G-H. Let me get a hammerkop. And I'm going to show you how those birds, Lisa, looks like. And there they are. All right, James. If you look there, James, how is that? Keep coming, James. And you go all the way down there, Lisa, because that's the hammerkop. And number 5 there. And they're called hammerkops. Kop, I think, means ahead. Kop means ahead in Dutch. And the hammer, because if you look carefully, the head there takes the shape of a hammer. They make very huge nests. I want to show you now the size of those birds in comparison to their nests. And I'm going to go to the next page there. James can zoom in right there. Lisa, can you look at that size of bird? And look at the massive nest they make. Nothing to compare. Huge, massive apartment for such a small bird. To me, they make the best nests, very solid, small hole, as you can see the entrance there. Very good. That's the hammerkop, and we'll take you now to Stevovo, who I think got more birds.
Feathers, feathers indeed. We have found a very nice pair of crowned hornbills, which I haven't seen up here for some time, and very nice to see indeed. Living as well in cavities in trees, folks. But the very specialized feature that hornbills undergo to prevent themselves from being snatched out of their cavities in the trees is they seal themselves inside. Female hornbills seal themselves inside the cavity with mud and excrement, leaving only a little slit for where the male can feed her. So that's why there are so many hornbill species across the African continent, obviously associating once again with trees that have been damaged, led to cavities through woodpeckers and insects, and they breed in there. But by sealing themselves in, they have a much higher success rate of the youngsters. And well, the female hides herself there during the rearing of the chicks, David, is this a first for you? Well, I've seen them in the Kruger Park in certain areas, but they're like very well sort of watered areas, nicely sort of forested river margins. I haven't seen them in Djuma. Like the trumpets or hornbill, they like a little bit more sort of taller trees, a bit greener, a bit more fruity, if you will. Beautiful, beautiful indeed for them to just be sitting like us, just there in the open. And the reason we were attracted to this area was not because of the hornbill, but it was in fact because we heard a juvenile martial eagle calling, which we will show you in a moment, because, well, the martial eagle comes down to all of the things we've been talking about this morning. Predation, the need to hide in holes in the ground or in cavities. Martial eagle is one of the primary predators out here, of the big and the small. Well, there we go. It's got some food in its beak that it has just got it swallowed down. But we'll move on down to Djuma with my dear friend Patrick, who has found an animal who seemingly can never get enough to eat.
Good morning, everybody. A very warm welcome. My name is Patrick, and we have James joining us on camera. And in front of us, we have Ellies. So if you have any questions or comments about these elephants or anything else you're seeing, please use that hashtag SafariLive or use the YouTube chat stream. So we have been driving around quite a bit this morning, investigating various alarm calls and other things like hyena dens, but we have found some elephants in the process and thought, well, why not stop and show the world these beautiful big mammals. So we have one here. There were another two, a youngster and what I believe to be its mother, but they have gone. Bright night. They aren't actually just born during the dry season. Elephants are born year round. So if anyone tuned in yesterday, you would have seen yesterday morning we had a very new one. Very new, still had some umbilical cord remnants on the underside of its belly. So they do give birth kind of all year round. We got this one chomping down a red thorn at the moment, a Vichilia tree, formerly known as the acacia, until us Aussies stole it from you all. How beautiful is that? Look at those eyes. Just like their relatives, the whales in the water. Very gorgeous animal. Yes, little, that baby was very adorable, having a little bath and blowing bubbles. That was up there with one of my favourite sightings thus far. Very cool to watch. And one day that little youngster will grow up to be as big as these ones. Well, if the odds are all in its favour. It may even reach one of the big 6-tonners one day, you never know. So it looks like this one has gone away from the tree and coming up closer to us, giving us a better look here. It really does show though that how strong the mouths and the trunk, or how tough the skin must be to be able to grab hold of and chew on these acacia thorn trees or Vichilias. I definitely would not want to be ripping off chunks of that with my hand and eating it. It would result in quite a few lacerations, I think. Oh, isn't this special? We've had a lot of elephants around lately, and this one is coming right up close. How great is this? So beautiful. Peacefully grazing. That's one thing that really is an advantage of the ellies, is that they will graze and they will browse. So they can really be dynamic between the seasons. If there's quite a bit of rain around and the trees are all fruiting and producing leaves, then they'll take advantage of that. But if that's not available, then they can switch to the grasses and the woody plants. So that's why quite often you'll see elephants in the Mara grazing and elephants here browsing. Using its foot there to kick up some stuff. Proud cat mama, do ellies have the largest brain? Well, I'm not actually sure about the brain size of an elephant, but if it's relative to body size, I would say that it would, but I'm not 100% sure on that, and we'll check that one out. But, I mean, the skulls of these things are just huge, and it's just demonstrating the power of those skulls right now. Oh, this is amazing. And if we can look at the tip of its trunk right now. Oh, I know it might be a bit hard, but we will try and get a look at it. We can see those two fingers, as they're commonly referred to as, that really help it pick things up and maneuver things. It's literally just like fingers on our hands, the way they use it. It's quite incredible. Oh, and look at this. Isn't that unreal? Hearing the crackling and crunching sounds, and just seeing how many different body parts it uses to get to the best part of the tree, which looks to be the roots right now. It's kicking up the dirt, it's holding it with its trunk, it's used its tusks for leverage to snap the original bit of twig. What an intelligent, beautiful creature. Now using those molars to crush up that bark. So they will get about 6 sets of these teeth continuously growing through as they do progress with age. And that is also a lot of reason why they will die of old age, because they will lose these last sets of teeth, and then after that they can't feed anywhere near as well as they used to. This is special. Look at the strength of this thing. Wow. Well, what an amazing sighting this has been. But we will leave these alleys and head over to the Vob in the Mara and see what he has got to show us.
Managed to find our juvenile martial eagle. It was calling, that's what attracted us to the area. But just to put everything into perspective, some of the special interests were ostrich. Some of the special interests also were bat-eared foxes, and all of the other animals we've been looking at that either hide in burrows or move around are all prey to a martial eagle. And bat-eared foxes, one of their biggest threats is from the sky. So from a bird like this would be a really, really big problem for a martial eagle, for a bat-eared fox youngster, and hence why they live in burrows. Black-backed jackal youngsters as well. The guinea fowl that we saw, primary food for large raptors like this, as well as baby warthogs. Been said that a martial eagle can spot its prey from 6 kilometers away and then dive bomb to go and get it. Isn't that incredible? 6 kilometers. That is almost 3 miles. You can see something and then you fly towards it. You've got no chance if it spotted you from 6 kilometers away of concealing yourself, do you? Hence why a lot of these animals feed together in groups, so that if there is any visual of something coming from the sky, well, they can all scatter, and hopefully the confusion allows for either a bit of sort of a let away, getting yourself to escape, or in the confusion your friend, or not so much your friend, your feeding colleague gets caught instead. But just a youngster. And I finally found some information on warthogs at birth, and they reckon anywhere from 1 to 2 pounds at birth, so about 450 grams to 900 grams. Very, very small. Martial eagle gets up to 4 kilograms, so 8 pounds. Much bigger. Definitely would be. You see how it moves its head from side to side, trying to get that binocular vision in. I might have spotted something. Also frequent woodlands. Lee, it is the biggest eagle we see. I think the golden eagle is in fact bigger than the martial eagle, but we don't get golden eagles here that I'm aware of. But I think the golden eagle is in fact the largest of the eagle species, the martial eagle being the largest one that we get to spend time with. And a formidable adversary in the sky. Crowned eagle, not far off, but they're more of a forest bird. The martial eagle enjoys the savannas. Crowned eagle being almost exclusively hunter of monkeys and primates. The martial eagle has got an enormous variety in its diet. Monitor lizards that would plague the whole nesting bird species, as well as snakes, would be prey to the martial eagle. The guinea fowl that are so important for scratching open the ground and for making disturbance, and also for prey. And the bat-eared foxes and ostrich youngsters most certainly fall prey to a martial eagle from the sky. Known for taking storks and herons out in the open, so no doubt young ostrich youngsters hiding around trying to be camouflaged would easily fall prey to a bird of this size. Using the tree for its perch, and the adults like to use very tall trees for making a very messy stick platform nest, where they'll lay 2 eggs, but invariably the first chick to hatch will kill the second one, a process known as Cainism, or siblicide. Cainism named after Cain and Abel in the Bible. It's one of the common features with the large eagle species, the second egg being more of an insurance policy, and the chick hatching initiating bloodletting early on and killing its own sibling. Quite incredible. All about eliminating competition. Chantal, there are monkeys. Where we were where we live, there's Sykes monkeys up in the mountain. We heard them and saw them the other day. There's certainly vervet monkeys somewhere around, but the baboons, the olive baboons, do range the landscapes. But the monkeys are around, they're just hidden. We don't really get to spend too much time in the woodland areas. In the forest, you see the tree line there behind, the tree line all around us, sort of around the river. There are lots of monkeys in there, but we don't really get to spend too much time in there. And that's where the monkeys enjoy and spend most of their time. So most of the food is, most of the fruit that they feed on. And so there could be crowned eagles somewhere around. I'm not 100% sure. But the monkeys don't range out into the open as much, I suppose, as we see down in the Sabi Sands. But there's plenty of places for them to hide away. Many trees out in the open. Out here, if Manu scans to the left, you'll notice how there's nowhere for a monkey to hide if caught out in the open. And Gillian, you love those fluffy trousers, those pantalons. So here we've got the forest, or a little bit of a thicket, and if you keep going left, you'll see how it opens up. And the next available cover would be on the far side there, which is a very long distance to go for a monkey if it needs to evade any form of predator. Taking to the trees is their form of refuge and form of escape. Baboons run quite quickly, and we do find them out in the open, but they also will try and scatter towards shelter. if need be. But martial eagles would also be a predator to the young of both baboon and monkey species. So it's really interesting, the diversity of animals we have out here and how they can be interconnected from either a hiding point of view, a food point of view, or an importance to the landscape. And it all once again goes back to the termites which create the mounds and the elephants which damage the trees, leading to the proliferation of wood-boring insects and then many, many woodpecker species. And the food resource is all available due to the habitat provided by all of these organisms. Very, very cool and instrumental to what is the diversity of the savannah, because that's where we are. If you weren't aware, we are indeed in the savannah, and this time the East African savannah. But let's move on from our martial eagle. We have seen this juvenile here many a time in this little area. It's probably an area that mum or dad, well, where the egg was laid and the nest was reared. So it's not going too far away from its natal area, so most likely be a male. So we are going to continue around the marsh, see what we can find, and let's go back down to Djuma and see how Sydney is getting on with those tracks.
It is very, very difficult to find Tandy and Talamba this morning. The tracks are just fresh everywhere here in the area where I am, and there's quite a lot of impalas. What I'm trying to do now is to backtrack the tracks, because this Tandy came out from this area to Torchwood and back to the same area. So she might be having a kill somewhere in the area here. So I'm trying now to backtrack all the tracks for this morning. We might be lucky here. I just want to listen to the squirrels and the birds. It's very, very quiet at the moment. I'm checking all these termite mounds here because that is where they prefer to also lie down. There's also a herd of elephants here. So now let's quickly go back to David.
Well, terribly sorry about technical issues on that side, folks, but you're back with us in the marsh. Oopsie, bumpy marsh. Deciding whether to go this way or that way. It's one of those decisions, you know, you could find something if you go either way. Manu, what's your thoughts? Left? I'm feeling left. Feeling left. We can pretty much see through the middle there. There's some warthog and some topi, but along the forest edge here, who knows what we'll find. So back to the topic about monkeys. I mean, monkeys essentially, baboons are the only, and vervet monkeys are the only real apes, apart from us, that move out into the savannah. Invariably all the monkeys, other monkeys, all are tree-dwelling, forest-dwelling, canopy-dwelling species. So if you want to find them, you've got to go in there. There's no roads going into these forests. I know with the balloon we saw a few monkeys. And in the forest up there on the escarpment, we saw some sykes the other day. So they move around in canopies. They're not really designed for moving through this landscape. It's all about trees, going up trees, anti-predator behavior. The food is up there as well. So vervets will range, but they don't go too far. They need somewhere to cover. They don't have the ability that the warthogs and the bat-eared foxes and the like are able to suddenly scurry down into a burrow. I've never seen a monkey run and hide in a hole in the ground. It's kind of just not what they do. They're all about trees. So they never go too far from some form of cover. because there are predators prowling in the landscape. So if you want to find animals, you need to understand what is their food source and their habitat. Well, the habitat essentially fulfills the food source and their breeding. And if there's no breeding sites, well, you're probably not going to find those animals there. It's all about niche. You get the fundamental niche, which is essentially all of the areas in a landscape that an animal can live in without competition. Without competition. And then you get the realized niche, which is where all the animals, the area in the landscape, the animals actually live with competition. And competition is predation and competition with species that are feeding for the same resource. Karen, you want to know why baboons are not monkeys? Well, they're apes. They all fall underneath apes. And you get old world apes and new world apes, and monkeys are just one of the apes, just like Homo sapiens are an ape. We are indeed. Opposable thumbs. They've just evolved slightly differently. Apes, gorillas, baboons, they're all a very different type. You get the monkeys are more of they all fall under ape, as I say, but they're all very different. Baboons all have got a dog-like face to them, and they generally are quite sort of ground mobile, very active in the trees as well, but bigger set, stronger, do a little bit more sort of walking on the ground, whereas monkeys essentially are more arboreal, much more agile in the trees. They take to trees very readily in times of stress, and they all fall under the same family, but they've all just evolved very differently due to food resources, competition, and the like. Well, what would a morning in the Mara be without a group of Duggar boys? Okay, so our Duggar boys chilling out very hard in the open. They are never very far from water, and they will cover a short distance through this sort of open area, then through the thickets, the tree line to our left, to the Mara River to drink, never going too far away. There's plenty of food availability for them here. And there is a roller shouting behind, and that buffalo there looks dead. You never see buffalo sitting like that, completely unconscious on their side. Hey Manu, have you seen? The two you saw on the right are sitting in a typical rumination fashion, and the guy there is not. You don't see that. Manu, we're going to go poke him with a stick and see if he moves. Manu's going to go. I'll hold the camera. Manu's going to go. Manu's very quick, you see. He was a winger in rugby. He's very fast. I've seen him run. Did you see that? He's already gone, and he's back again. You didn't even see him go. That's how fast he is. Well, the one special interest was lions, and well, one of the major food sources for lions in these open landscapes are buffalo. Probably one of their most formidable prey items, and it's the reason why lions have evolved into not only large cats, but into prides, to be able to bring down these enormous beasts. Buffalo weighing a ton, a metric ton at the most. It's a very big animal. Can run very quickly, both male and female, having the horns. Very difficult animal to bring down unless you are in a pride. You don't often see lone animals, lone lions attacking buffalo. It's just out of the question, really. From a weight perspective, they're completely outmatched unless they manage to catch a youngster. But very peaceful scenes here as they are chewing and getting the most out of the vegetation. Tas buffalo aren't mean, they're just misunderstood. They're just misunderstood. They're an animal that is constantly being chased and harassed by lions. Lions constantly want to eat them. They've got ticks in every single place you can imagine, so the itchiness that they have must be unbelievable. If you've ever been infested by ticks, you'll know it's not a very pleasant feeling. And well, we've at least got fingers and nails to scratch those tick bites. The buffalo don't even have the facility to scratch those hard to reach places. So it makes them a little bit grumpy indeed. They're a big animal. They don't like to run away from anything. And, well, they weigh a metric ton. So if they decide they want to push you over, well, it's going to hurt. And, well, it could potentially kill you. So that is essentially why people think they're grumpy. They don't like running. As a herd, they run. As Duggar boys like this, they've been running. They've run enough. And they stand their ground. And, well, invariably, they have been responsible for many human fatalities in Africa. But many of the people that have been injured by buffalo are people who have been trying to hunt them. And, well, a buffalo that is wounded is very well known to circle around into the thickets and actually come back and attack the person or the individual that has been hunting it. A wounded buffalo is extremely dangerous, and it is why... Oh, he's alive. Okay, he's definitely alive. He was having a proper nap. A wounded buffalo is probably regarded as the most dangerous animal out here. And they do fall under the big five, with all of the other dangerous animals to hunt on foot. But we don't hunt here anymore. We take photographs. 5 most awesome animals to photograph. And, well, another awesome animal to photograph that is also one of the big 5, Sydney is still on the search for.
I am still checking for both Thandi and Kalamba, and now the tracks got disappeared somewhere in this block here around the Muluwati area. So maybe they're still somewhere here, or they went much more towards central. But the chances now of finding them, they are very much slim. The tracks got disappeared somewhere here. So I'm just going to check central just to see if the tracks are not going to come out much more towards central. I will be very happy if you find them. We have been looking for them since this morning, and they traveled a very long distance from Torchwood Dam to where we are now. It's not easy. But the problem is, this Thandi is going back the same way she went down that side. So I'm convinced that she must be having a kill somewhere here. So she is being very sneaky here. So maybe if I pick up some tracks around central, we might end up getting to where they were coming from. Paul Cat Mama, I missed them too, but Kalamba, I was with her yesterday, and I was hoping to see her again this morning, but this morning specifically I want to see Thandi. Maybe we might be lucky somewhere around Haina Road. So now let's carry on searching to the Masai Mara with David.
Well, number one, I'm sorry you lost me at one point. I had some gremlins and I disappeared, but I am now back and I'm just hearing some parrots chipping and making noise. I don't know where they're going, but I can hear lots of parrots in this area. And I was talking about a leopard that I thought we saw from a distance and then disappeared, and that's one of the major differences between the leopards in the Mara and the leopards in Juma. The ones here are always very skittish. You might see a leopard for maybe a minute or two and it's gone. But if you find it on top of a tree it might stay longer, or if you find it eating, it might stay longer. But if you find one walking, they're always on the move, and they move very quickly. We got a marabou stalker scavenger-like bird some point there, James, with some zebras. I don't know what she's doing or what she's scavenging there for. And I would imagine either she would be looking for a kill of lions, and that would help me spot the sausages that I've not seen. And she flies, she goes, and that's a marabou stock. Very good job, James. It's one of the largest birds we got in Africa in terms of size. You can see it's huge, big, and those zebras don't sound to be very happy with something. Either they didn't like the marabou stock, consists of long legs. And remember, this is a very interactive safari we do. Keep chatting to us on YouTube or hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. They tend to scavenge a lot, but they also be able to kill for themselves and feed. They've got very strong beaks, and the legs will appear white, not because they're white, but because of the droppings, which helps, their own droppings, which helps to keep them cool. We have sometimes talked of the big five or the small five or the ugly five. Jason, you say this is the Undertaker bird, and Jason, remind me, you must be loving or you like wrestling. Yes, and true, she deservedly need to be called the Undertaker. And Undertaker always kept winning on the ring. Bold head, because like most scavengers, when they'll go scavenge on any leftovers from kills, they'll always dig in, and they don't want to put their heads in, or when the heads get in there, they don't want to get any blood on their feathers, not to get any infection. Now, the sausages, I am not giving up. And not giving up, let's now look at some primates with Steve Obo.
Well, there's always interesting things out here, David, and you spotted a leopard. How interesting is that? We'd love to see a leopard. Sydney's trying very hard. It's a bit easier down in Juma than here. But, well, we've spotted a prey item that is either sometimes very easy for a leopard or sometimes incredibly difficult. And that is a group of baboons, the olive baboon, in fact, that are just outside of the forest fringe. And we were talking about how to find animals and habitats, and well, baboons and monkeys alike will, their territories, or should I say home ranges, sort of move along river courses, and then in the case of baboons, they sort of expand out from that river course into the open sort of savanna and then back again. But the necessity of the trees for bedding sites and for roosting sites at night are essential for baboons, generally along river courses where the trees are tall, nice and comfortable. If you sleep in a tree, you want it to be a nice big sort of nice bough that you can lie in. And obviously they need to be big enough so you can get away from certain predators. Generally, the trees in the riverine areas also provide a lot of fruit, and well, the baboons are a huge favorite. Fruit is part of their diet. But right now, what they're doing is actually grazing, sitting there like Uncle, plucking off the little bits of grass, new shoots that are coming through, and feeding them. Karen, it is a nice little picnic. There are a huge amount of baboons here. I haven't even counted. There's more than 40 at least, all just hanging out in this enormous family group. And there'll always be watchers, and always someone paying attention to the movement of any predators that might be coming through, namely a martial eagle or leopard. Barb, it is quite a large troop, but you know, here in the Mara, generally we see them quite large like this. You don't really see baboon groups this large down in Juma, but in areas where the riparian vegetation is similar to this in the Mara, you do get larger groups of baboons because the food availability is bigger. Obviously, your band can only be as big as the food allows it to be. just like groups of people, when we moved through the landscape, our groups were only as big as the food resource allowed. And when we got to areas of high food abundance, well, we were able to get much larger groups. And much larger groups means many more soldiers to defend the food resource that you have, which kind of works hand in hand. You need food to provide, obviously, the energy for your soldiers, and you need soldiers to defend a territory or a grouping. And essentially baboons, they defend the group, not really the resource, moving through home ranges as they do, the males fighting with each other for access to the group. Yes, Lauren, they do have lots of babies. They are quite sort of prolific breeders, baboons. They don't have too much of what we call birth control or family planning. And each member that is added to the group will serve a purpose. And so they definitely do breed very, very well, baboons. There doesn't seem to be too much of a season in the breeding, but they just do carry on doing what they do. It's lovely spending time with baboons because they're always busy. I don't know if you could hear that bit of a shouting happening in the background there. There was some screams and shouting happening. Some youngsters are getting a little bit of a disciplinary sort of hand down by some of the bigger ones. We can't see them because they've all disappeared into the bushes. There we go. Is that a female with her little one? Yep, a little dark black furred baby. Will never be too far from mum. Very cute to see baboons with the babies. Little baboon is learning what to see, what to do. Mum is obviously showing it the way, but just like babies, human babies, we learn what mum does. We put everything in our mouth. That tastes good. What is that? Let me eat that. But as soon as there's an issue, she'll just snap it up and run off into the thickets. She's feeding very quickly using her very useful fingers and thumbs. There, another adult is coming to say, hello, baby. It's not uncommon to have babysitters and other individuals coming to groom and play with the youngsters. Tick loads and parasites are also quite common on baboons, and social organization of them very important to do grooming. Little favors done. Could be auntie, could be a sister, an older sister. We all love head scratches though, don't we? Doesn't matter how old you are, I think you'll never get over head scratches. Bit of attention given. But I know I've said this before, how wonderful would it be if we could just live off of the grass? We could just walk around here and pluck the grass shoots, and well, that would be enough for us to survive. Do you think it would eliminate the wars that we have, the competition for resources across the world? The baboons seem to live in relative harmony with each other. No waste, no plastic, no emissions. Really, I think we could learn something from these guys. Okay, very good. Well, we're going to move on from our baboons, see what else we can catch up on. And in the meantime, let's go back down to Sydney.
I am now leaving the area where Thandi and Tlalamba might be. I'm now heading towards the Viotella pen to see if maybe we can be lucky with Osan or any other cat that side. So I just want to find any of these cats, as this is my last game drive. So we might be lucky when we get there. It's very quiet here. There is no tracks at all. But I know Osana prefers to walk here by these dry riverbeds. Maybe we might find tracks close to this dry riverbed here. So we are just driving parallel to the dry riverbed. So chances of him somewhere here, they are very much high. So there's a lot of impalas here, and now that impala's got a lot of lamps. Yeah, I'm hoping to get this last-minute leopard. So maybe the baby impalas, the lambs, must be keeping these leopards very busy these days. So now I will try the drainage line and see if we can be lucky there. Thank you very, very much for all the well wishes. I will be going for a break after this game drive, and I hope to enjoy my holiday. So Hosanna likes to come to this area during the day. So now let's go back to David by the Masai Mara.
Well done, Sydney, and it's always good to keep looking at different things and different areas, because I'm now living in the Sausage Republic, and I'm coming to an area we call the Bant area, because the grass here has always been very short, and because it's short, it's always filled up by lots of Thompson gazelles, and Thompson gazelles once in a while have translated to cheetahs. Not exactly so, but more often than not, we'll see cheetahs in this kind of country. They prefer open grassland where they can see themselves, they can see their enemies, and also they can see their prey. Thompson gazelles on cheetahs Bennu are always top on the list. I think they're small, they're tender, and cheetahs being so delicate, they also want some yummy things. Very good, it's very true. Yeah, I've really tried. I mean, at the one point before you lost me, there was a leopard in that particular drainage, and that's one big difference between the leopards here in the Mara Triangle and in Juma. Here they're still very skittish, and unless you see one on top of a tree just resting, or one on top of a tree with a kill, seeing them on the ground, you might see them for less than a minute, and then they just take off. Thompson gazelles, good morning. And apart from the Thompson gazelles, the cheetahs also will get, of course, bigger prey, as much as we got the wildebeest there. But if it's a single cheetah or a solitary cheetah, chances are she might get a young one, not a fully grown wildebeest. But a coalition of 3, 4, 5 males could easily bring down even a fully grown wildebeest. You can see the shimmering on your screen there on top, because we expect maybe some rains later on in the day. These are the wildebeest that have not tagged along with the main herd to go back to Tanzania. but I'm sure at one point they'll start heading down south. Migration is always a very big highlight in the Mara and Tanzania, or rather in Serengeti, every year when the cycle is in either of the two places. But I think the most colorful one is in Tanzania when they drop the young ones in the month of February. Fantastic. The wildebeest will keep walking as they do the migration, and they'll track for thousands of miles. And my friend Steve is talking of tracking.
Welcome back to the Mara again, and indeed yesterday was the awesome Tracking Tuesdays, and the quiz question was about scent marking, and a number of you got it correct, a number of you got it slightly wrong, but the answer indeed was leopard scent marking. And well, it's very tricky to really compare a leopard with a lion scent marking, in my opinion. But the size is probably all we really have to go for by the photograph. But I think this is quite a tricky photo. It's quite a tricky photo. So if any of you got it wrong, I don't blame you. But looking at the ruler, you can see that the size, that's 10 centimeter ruler. So we're given this long line here, which is actually a urine spray on the ground. Now if we go below it, just below it, just to there, right there, you can see that there's this mark over here. And then there's another mark over there as well. The typical backward scraping that a leopard will do. When a male leopard stands there, or female leopard even, but mainly we see the males do it. They stand there with their two back legs and they kick backwards. These are what that line is there. There's a line and there's a line. And after they do that, kicking up the dirt, sort of turning around the sort of sediment of the ground, then they will urinate on top of it. So that's a very classic sort of sign. But because the size shows about 10 centimeters there, it is probably why it would be easier to identify it as a leopard rather than a lion. The lion track would be much bigger. This band that we have coming in from here would be much, much bigger, because the lions have got much bigger feet, of course, and well, you'd probably assume that there is more urine on the ground. But some people said hyena do this scraping, but they don't deposit any urine when they do the scraping. They'll often kick and kick and kick, but you don't see the same form of sort of urine spraying as well. And wild dog, well, I've never seen wild dog do anything quite like that. They do more of a pasting, more of a rubbing of the bum on things. So I hope that has answered any of your questions. If you got it wrong, that's okay. Well done for trying and for getting involved. It is a very difficult question, though, without seeing it firsthand. But when I get back down to Djuma, we're going to run through those again. I'm sure Tristan will. He's actually coming up here on the weekend. So when I get back down to Djuma, I'll jump back into scent marking and see how many scent markings we can find, because bearing in mind the hyena, the scent marking that they do is pasting. They will drop a little bit of a paste on the end of a branch, and wild dogs do a little bit of a sideward urine spray, but I've never really seen them do anything like that. They certainly don't scrape with their back legs, which is the trick to that track, which is what you need to look for. The disturbance on the ground could be hyena, but that urine spray on top, most certainly a cat. And in this case, I mean, that was probably Tingana, considering it's Tristan's photo, and it was probably taken in and around Djuma. And well, he's the only real male leopard to be doing anything like that. Might have been Hukumuri, we don't know. But well done for trying, and keep up the good work with Tracking Tuesdays. I hope you've been learning lots. I hope you've been learning lots from the Tracking Tuesdays. And I'm excited to be getting back to Djuma to be doing some tracks again. We don't get to do any tracking out here. Every now and again I spot some tracks, but the angle from the vehicle is impossible to show you, and the ground also is very hard here from the mud. But what a lovely scene here. We've got a 3-shot, a 4-shot in fact, of zebra, warthog, topi, buffalo, and waterbuck. Ooh, so that, an elephant. It's a 5-shot, if you could get it all in frame. As we go through, there's the 1, 2, the 3, and then the waterbuck, the Defasa waterbuck, a vehicle, of course, and then buffalo. What are the buffalo up to? The buffalo are looking intriguingly at something over there. Oh, they're just walking. No, they're just walking. I thought maybe that car would have indicated something was there. There are a number of lion prides that hang around this area. The enormous amount of game animals on offer provides them with the necessary food. And David did have some of the olololos in the background. We haven't seen some more. A smorgasbord of food. There we go. There's the real tusks. Don't mistake those for fake tusks. And the baboon as well. There's animals everywhere. Everywhere you look, animals doing their thing. They enjoy being in groups. It's all sort of assisting each other in keeping the eyes and ears. And as we go left, you'll see another family of baboon in the background. Zebras enjoying some shade, and some impala as well, grooming. Interestingly, that every now and again a male baboon will snack on a baby impala and still hang out together. Carol, I suppose you would call them patriarchs in a baboon troop. It is a dominant male society with regards to a group of males or a gang of males that form what we call an oligarchy, which is a group of dominant males which look after the breeding rights and the sort of the area of the baboon troop. And if they get displaced by another group of males who will then look after that same family. But it is a very messy affair when a baboon society changes, when there's an uplift and a change. There's a big male in the front. When a group of males gets displaced, it can be extremely violent, extremely aggressive. There was a lady years ago who was doing research with baboons, the Chakma baboon down in South Africa, and she got very close to the family. She was habituated with them, and they allowed her in to the troop. And then one day there was a troop takeover, and a group of males came in, and obviously she smelt like the troop. She was the biggest member there, and she got attacked, and she nearly lost her life. She got very, very badly mauled and attacked by the baboons. She lost fingers, she lost her nose. She was very badly attacked by a baboon. She survived though, but basically the baboons saw her as one of the dominant male members in the troop, and well, they took their vengeance on her. Not sure the rest of the story, but I know that she was very badly injured. The zebra is obviously wanting part of the family unit. They're all enjoying some sunshine and some well-needed grooming. It all looks very pleasant in baboon society from time to time, with a little bit of noise and screams from time to time. But when there is a takeover, it is incredible. Charlotte is a family outing indeed. All the animals are out doing their thing. It's almost like we could actually have a little zoo book just with what's going on in the shot. And once again, the tree line behind, the impala being an edge specialist, they like the edges of forests and woodland areas, sharing a very similar sort of niche to that of the baboon. Well, what would a morning be without more predators? And it seems as if David, without finding the sausages, has found a spotted hyena.
Well, we continue enjoying predators this morning, and there's a hyena going down there. I'm not sure she's going down in a den. She just went in there. Not sure what could be there. It's quite a distance from where we are. But this, she just came out, and we are in an area called the Happy Zebra Clan. Happy Zebra Clan. This is where they live. Hyenas are very territorial, and they will always defend their territory so much. And we've got about 3 main clans in the area we live, or the area we patrol or do our drives. The largest and the most famous clan being the North Clan, that is commanded by Wafos. But this is just one of the members of the Happy Zebra Clan. I think the leader is called Pike or something like that, and not sure what she's trying to pick in the air. Anything that may smell good. That's exactly what I would guess she is doing. Trying to smell a kill, because I don't know she's listening to anything, but of course she could also be listening to any vibration, any cracks, any lions trying to smash something. And I'm sure all her senses are out. Ears, eyes, nose. Definitely not a feel. The wind is blowing there. And her mouth open, she's trying to, I think, to concentrate, swinging her head from one side to the other. Her ears twitching, and I'm trying to believe her ears are picking any slightest sound wave. They can pick anything as far as 10 kilometers away. See a lion trying to break bones of something. They'll confidently pick the sound and go towards that direction. And if a big clan or big group of hyenas, they'll go and intimidate. There would be lions or cheetahs. Cheetahs suffer more at the hands of hyenas. Or are you looking for your friends? I highly doubt, because you have a better way of communication. Not like looking for food. My guess is he's trying to pick for any slight sound. She runs, stops. Sometimes they'll be known to look on top of trees for any vultures. And if they see vultures perched somewhere, they'll have maybe a guess there could be some kill there and head in the same direction. And they'll always survey and weigh the options of either getting too close to the kill or just waiting for the lions to finish eating before they get close. Mike, you're right. She keeps looking, and definitely she's looking for something, and she's want to turn back. I'm not sure she has lost her friend. She's running back. Very strange behavior here. And I heard a small little cackle from a distance. Or do you have cubs? Who knows? We haven't followed that particular area she keeps going in. I don't know that she has a den. Sometimes we get the hyenas having, dens that are spread out from the main den, but where the female is, or the female leader, because hyenas are very matriarchal, that will be the main den. And I guess, I'm trying to remember the name of the matriarch here, it's called Pike, just like the Waffles of the North Clan. I got a feeling she could be having cubs there. I do not know. I haven't followed these hyenas closely. I don't know them very well. Unlike the Waffles Kingdom, now she's decided to move and on a mission, running somewhere. Well, we'll be knowing what she'll be doing at one point, but in the meantime, she's coming right back, and I'll be taking you across to South Africa to my friend Sydney.
Still very, very quiet here where I am. No tracks of Hosanna. Hosanna is also hiding somewhere. Maybe he's also having a meal somewhere. And it has been a privilege having you for the past 6 weeks. And now is the time for me to go and rest. I'm going to be on off days as from this afternoon. And hopefully we will be together again by the 14th of December. So now let's go back to the Masai Mara.
Well done, Sydney. I'm sure you have worked very hard after all the tracks you've seen of Talamba and Tandy and not, being able to zero in on them. And my hyena here keeps running, and now I think she has decided to run and run and run. And not sure exactly where she wants to go, but definitely either she has picked some clear indication of some food somewhere, and that is a body language showing she is on a mission. Whatever it is, she knows exactly where she's going. And now the cackling I heard behind, either cubs, she's leaving them behind and saying, I need to go and eat, get a bit of energy, and then if I come back, and the cubs are pretty small, she'll be able to nurse them. She keeps running and feeding there in the grass. Very good camera work by James. It has been such a great morning, both from here in the Mara Triangle and from Juma in South Africa. And that's the beautiful trees that you call the torchwood trees. And they are very iconic trees of the Mara. What a morning, Steve, with all the birds he has been doing and the dam where he has been, and all my unsuccessful try of getting the Sausage Republic. I didn't get them today, but I'm sure there's always a next time. But the Savoy thing today was my big highlight. Well, Sydney in South Africa, Steve in Kenya, and myself, and all the other good people who have done a very good job. Thank you. And from all of us, you're saying goodbye and see you later this afternoon. Thank you for watching and goodbye.